The day this episode is dropping, it's already September. Labor Day just passed. And you know what that means? That's right. PSL season is here. And if you don't know what PSL means, please unsubscribe and don't follow this episode. I'm just kidding. PSL, for those of you that don't know what it means, pumpkin spice latte season, where everything in the grocery store and Target is pumpkin spice, which I have no complaints about. It makes me really happy and warm inside. And not only is it pumpkin spice season, it's usually that time of year where everyone is in a, oh shit, I have to make a plan to finish this year strong. And Legacy Maker, I know you want to make a plan. You already wrote a plan, right? But before you start even taking action into that plan, I actually want you to consider what has and hasn't been working up to this point to actually reflect on this past year. So, whether you're listening to this podcast episode and pumpkin spice season or any season, this episode will help you create a plan that is aligned to you and not some cookie cutter approach. So keep listening and let's drop the beat.
Hey, Legacy Maker. I'm your host and MC, Elaine Lucardis, business and career coach for women of color and allies. And welcome to the Call Your Dreams podcast, where we have conscious conversations to help you create a business or career that is sustainable, abundant, and equitable to the lifestyle you deserve. Because our ancestors sacrificed so much so we could have this life of choice. Now, grab your coffee, tea, and/or boba, and let's call your dreams to create your legacy.
Time flies, right? And it's usually this time of year, September, where everyone's feeling queasy like, oh shit, I have big goals I need to plan. And like I said earlier, regardless if it's September or any time of the year, before you start writing your plans down on what to do next, I actually have some questions for you to answer and reflect on. And by the way, for my action takers who are like, I want all the steps, this is an action packed episode. So you're going to want to take your pen and paper. And if you need to pause on this episode right now to take notes, I also want to share with you this isn't just an assignment that a teacher is giving to you and then you quickly answer it. I really want you to answer with intention. I mean, listen to this episode and take time to answer these questions because as you're answering these questions that I'm about to share with you when you're wanting to plan for the rest of the year, it's really important to have this bigger question in the back of your mind. Is this aligned to your highest ideal self? And I also want to remind you because unfortunately, we live in this world where everyone's telling you to do everything, right? And the questions I'm going to give you is more of an open answer type of thing as opposed to A, B, C, D. Like, I never did well in multiple choice, by the way, when I was younger. Anyways, going back to this episode, people may tell you, your parents, family members, loved ones, of the right way to do things. But guess what? I just want to remind you everything is made up in this world. And only you know what is aligned to you. And I have shared this vulnerably. I'm even working with a therapist where I'm making sure that I am doing the actions that is aligned to my voice and not outside voices. So as you're answering these questions, keep in mind what is aligned to you. In a Western and capitalist society, I know we've been taught to do all the time. What is the next thing to do? So often, when my clients have wins, like a new client, they just had an incredible event with 30 people. I'm like, okay, hold on. Before we start plotting for what's next, Elaine, okay, what do I need to do next? What can we do to celebrate? What can we learn from that experience? What did we love? What did we not love? Because even though in today's society we're taught to do all the time, let's learn from what our ancestors before us did. The importance of pausing, reflecting, and being honest with ourselves. All right, if you haven't done it, go get a pen and paper or hit pause right now to go get it because I'm about to tell you the most powerful questions you can ask yourself and reflect on when it comes to planning for the rest of the year, or it doesn't matter what time of year it is when you're listening to this episode. So you can start planning things. All right. Number one, people forget. Write down and block any vacations, important events in your life, and travel plans already planned. For example, I'm heading to Scotland and Hawaii in the last 2 weeks of September. So I have those 2 weeks blocked off to ensure I don't do work. And it's fascinating. And I'm not making fun of you, even for me before, where I'm like, okay, I have this trip planned, or it doesn't even have to be a trip planned. For example, it was my niece's baptism, even blocking that off. Or maybe you're hanging out with friends. Maybe because Friendsgiving is coming up, you need to block that off too. Block that off in your calendar. Know that you can't work. And in all transparency, at this moment, as I am recording this podcast episode, I'm recording it right before I'm going to vacation for a full week in Mammoth. It's actually the end of August when I'm recording it. So I made sure I'm going to record this podcast episode because I really want to be present on my week long vacation, Mammoth. So write down and block any vacations and travel plans already planned. If you're working full time, start telling your boss and team members. If you are a business owner, tell your team members, tell your clients. I've been telling my clients I'm going to be off on vacation and that I may take, instead of my 24 hours or 5 days where I respond back, I don't respond back at the weekends. I let my clients know I may respond and take 2 days to get back to you because I am traveling. The second thing, when it comes to planning for the rest of the year, I just want to warn you, it's not a professional goal we're going to go after because I know so often, like, okay, here are my professional goals, but hold on. Let's talk about what is your personal goal for the rest of the year? Because what's the point? What's the point of working if we're not even hitting our personal goal? And your personal goal may be different from a team member, a colleague, a friend, or family member. And here are some ideas. Maybe it's recovering from burnout. Maybe it's working on your health and energy or figuring out how to get back more time. My personal goal for this end of year, because the holidays are coming up and I have vacation plans coming up. I mean, on top of Scotland and Hawaii, I might be going to Mexico and Germany. I know, right? I have such a horrible life where I have to figure out if I'm going to those places to travel. But it's to be truly present in the situation I'm in, who I'm with. And like, for example, I really want to be present when I go to Scotland for my friend's wedding and Hawaii when I'm there for my boyfriend's work trip, even though the funny thing, just side note, he'll be able to have time for me because he is at work meetings all the time. He's like, I'll be able to hang out with you. So you have a week long in Hawaii, but I will be able to be with you. I mean, you'll get the hotel room. Like, I'll be at the beach. So even me being present at the beach, getting 50 shades of brown because I'm Filipino, I'm Ilocano, and I turn dark really quickly. Like, that's what I mean by being present. But also, even while I'm going on these vacations, giving myself grace if I want to do a little work. I know there's been like so much social media trending posts about like if you should work when you're on vacation or not. And for those that have a full time job, yes, have those boundaries. But at the same time, I do know when I am on vacation, I get very inspired on things I want to shift or change or even content creation. And I allow myself to do a little bit of that if it just comes to me. And also, in my personal goal of being more present, it's even not having to post all the time, whether you have a business or not. I have to admit, even earlier this year, last year, I've been in business for almost 5 years. I think the first 4 years of my business, I was always posting wherever I was, whether it's personal or professional. Now I don't do it as much, or at least not in the moment. For example, I just came back from Tahoe and sure, I took pictures and videos, but I didn't want to post and also have like, I have a 4-year-old niece and two 4-month niece and nephews that had 3 kids under the age of 5 that I was just playing around. I just wanted to be present. So that is my personal goal. What is your personal goal you want to work on? I think it's important to talk about that before we even get to the professional part. So take time, Think about what that personal goal is for you for the rest of the year. All right. Third question. I know you all want to get to the professional part because this is what happens when we live in a capitalistic society. And hey, like I'm caught up in it too, right? I have dreams and ambitions and I want to get to it, but I need to remind myself what is my personal goal, right? So I know when it comes to setting goals professionally, whether we have a full-time career or a business, it's like, okay, what's a thing we want to do? Actually, before we get to that, I know I'm teasing you. Like, I just want to create these plans for my business or my career. We need to answer other questions before that, hun. But I want to answer and acknowledge the elephant in the room. What is it? What is it not working right now in your career or business? Did that pain you a little bit when I asked you that question? What is not working? And here are some questions to think about. Maybe in your career, you're not getting paid enough, or you don't have time, you're burnt out. What is it? Because if we continue to go into this hamster wheel of doing what is the next thing and not pausing and realizing, I don't like this, it's fascinating what happens to our bodies when we are not listening. And I just don't want you to get sick. That's what happened to me, where I was working so much at a full-time job and I just got completely burnt out. I remember even in my business, I was really burnt out where one day my boyfriend tried waking me up at 8. I was sleeping the whole day. I could not get up. It was probably not until 7 p.m. the next day where I had to miss his niece's like dance performance because I was just so burnt out. I was sleeping. So, what is it that's not working for you in your career? And if you have a business, are you not feeling aligned with the clients you are attracting? I remember I was feeling that in the past years, and not like I said, you have heard this in other episodes. It was not the clients, it was just realizing I don't think I want to work with this specific group of people anymore. I love working with those who are more established and seasoned in their business and career. That's the level that I love working with at this current time because I am mindful that things may change. So maybe it's that's not working in your business. Maybe you're not getting as much sales as you used to, or maybe you're just not excited like you used to be. Right? I mean, I've shared in another episode where why I did my mastermind, where I was like, I was just not excited. I used to do these free monthly in person and virtual events, and I just stopped doing it because I didn't love it as much. It wasn't working for me anymore. Does that mean it was a mistake and it was broken? It was not working before? No, it's just this is where I'm at right now. And as you're reflecting on how you're going to plan for the rest of the year, acknowledge that we are human beings. Even scientifically, we evolve and we change. It is a part of us. And also, we get older. So, with experience and with beautiful aging, I really truly love getting older, even though you look in the mirror like, what is that on my face? Or what is happening to my body? Anyways, that is another thing. But just the wisdom that happens as you age and also how things may shift for you on what is important. And when you're acknowledging what isn't working for you in your career or business, what is that first baby step you can do? And the first baby step I want to recommend is look through your network, personal friends, colleagues who have gone through a similar challenge you have that has overcome it. And the reason why I want to share to talk to someone about that is because we are all social human beings and so often we think we are the only individual in the world that is going through it. But the reality is, there are so many humans that have lived here in this world. And there's a beauty and healing that happens when we're in community and relationship, being vulnerable and sharing what we're going through. Now, I'm not saying you go talk to every single person down the street or that uncle or aunt that triggers the hell out of you. I am saying go talk to people who you feel safe with, that you could seek insight and advice. And if you're wondering what I'm working on in my business that isn't working right now, well, because I have like in August when I'm recording this, I had 2 weeks of vacation off. Well, just 1 week already in Tahoe. I'm getting another week off in Mammoth. And then September, another 2 weeks off. So technically in August and September, I'm only working 2 weeks out of the month. And you might be thinking, wow, Elaine, that sounds amazing. It is. I am very honored and blessed that I have created my business this way where I'm working 2 weeks out of the month, at least for September, October. Wait, sorry, August and September. Maybe October, November if I go to Mexico and Germany. But at the same time, I acknowledge that my business is not functioning the same way because I'm only working 2 weeks. And that means I need to let go and delegate out more. And it's hard, especially when I'm so used to doing certain responsibilities or even decision making. It's not even tasks, but decisions. So I just met with my marketing strategist, Monica Schrock. If you haven't listened to our episode, I believe it is episode 4, where we talk about how to not be dependent on social media. You can listen to that podcast episode. But, anyways, I met with my marketing strategist, Monica Schrock, and I told them that, hey, I cannot do everything. I do not have the time and energy. Can you just make a marketing plan for me? And do you know how alleviating that is? It is so alleviating. But that's what's not working for me right now. Like, I mean, I've done a really great job where I've delegated tasks, and now as a business owner, it is delegating the decision making and planning responsibilities that I've been doing in the past 5 years. And that is hard because we humans have a problem of letting go of control. Maybe my thing of what's not working for me in my career business doesn't resonate with you. Maybe this is not a stage that you're not familiar with, but it could even be as simple as maybe you need to hire a house cleaner so you can have more time back. And what I mean time back, I'm not saying that's more time to work, but it might be just time to catch up on Netflix and watch all the Marvel movies or whatever you're into. I think there's that new like Game of Thrones spinoff. I forgot what it's called. I'm not really into Game of Thrones. Don't judge me. Anyways, I'm going off a tangent. All right. So that was the third question. What isn't working right now in your career business? And what is the first step you could do? The fourth question, what you have been waiting for. Now, how can you start making plans in your career for business for the rest of the year? And for those in your career where you're feeling stuck, you've identified your block. I just want to remind you what I advised before. Seek 2 to 3 people to ask advice from colleagues, supervisor, friends who's been in a similar situation for you that's overcome it. And I just want to remind you, folks, you feel safe with, not necessarily everyone. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's not your mom. If your mom does not make you feel safe talking about this, then don't talk to your mom. You get to make that decision. And if you're finding blocks, seek an expert. I remember when I was in a block in my career, this was back in the time when I was working in politics. I needed help asking for a raise, and I hired my own career coach to help me ask for a raise. I even, so just so you know what the difference between coaches and therapists are, coaches are helping you with goals. I have an episode of that, coaching versus therapy. Which one do you need? And then therapy helps you heal blocks or triggers that you might have when you were younger. So even when you get triggered now, just know that it may be from the past. So I even hired a therapist too, because I was acknowledging that I was getting triggered so much on certain things. Or maybe you need both. So if you're feeling blocked in your career and you want to start making plans, ask for advice from 2 to 3 colleagues or seek an expert, whether it's a coach or therapist. So for making plans when it comes to business, and I hate that I have to share this, but it's true. And don't worry, it's going to be both number based and intuitive based. But as business owners, I know we need to focus on revenue and cash flow. And don't worry, I'm not going to make this so boring that it's all about the numbers. We'll add intuition here and make sure it's aligned to you. But identify how much money you need to make for the rest of the year, right? Paying your team, bills, paying yourself. Paying yourself should be number one, by the way, over paying team and bills. And I go over this with my clients through a budget template I call generational wealth. And as you're figuring out what that number is, also, I want you to check in and notice what has been getting you clients, right? In my episode where I talk about knowing more data and simplifying your business, but what has been getting you clients? For me, it's referrals. And this podcast and Google SEO, right? 85% are referrals for me. And what has been getting you clients? One of the reasons why I ended my monthly free events that I used to do, not only is it because I wasn't excited and happy about it, but I also acknowledge, oh, I also am not getting clients through this as I used to. So what hasn't getting you clients? And notice, like I said, you're like, why isn't this working? How can I fix it? Sometimes things have worked for a while for you, but they're not meant to work for you going down the road further. And also, another thing I wanted to question when you're making plans for your career and business, what trends have you noticed? What has shifted and changed? For example, as I'm recording this, it is Q3 of 2022. So in Q2 and Q3 of 2022, I've noticed more clients wanting to work with me one to one. So my signature program, my 12-month Color Your Dreams Inner Circle for seasoned and established entrepreneurs who want to have a sustainable and equitable life. There wasn't a growth in clientele there. There was more of a growth in one-to-ones. But as we close out Q3 and about to enter Q4, I'm having more inquiries of people wanting to join my Color Your Dreams Inner Circle. It's just fascinating. But that's what I mean. Like, come from a place of curiosity as opposed to attach, like, this has to work, right? Like, oh, what's working? What was working? What has changed or shift? And I know I'm talking about clients, but it may even be marketing channels. For example, shout out to Monica Shaw, my marketing strategist. My email open rate has doubled, actually more than doubled, which is insane. And if you haven't joined yet, if you love my podcast, I highly recommend joining my bi-weekly Color Your Dreams newsletter. You could join at elainelu.com/join, where I provide weekly tips and advice. But that is just insane to me. And actually, I'm so proud and happy because my team was intentional about in the beginning of the year. I do not want to be social media heavy over it. Does not mean I'm not using it. I am, but I just want it to be more in emails. And I feel like it's what I love about emails and even podcasting. You're listening to the podcast, it just aligns with my values. It's very trauma informed, where it gives my audience a choice. It's giving you a choice if you want to open an email, listen to the podcast, or if you're just over this episode, you could just be like, I'm done. I'm not listening to it. Or I need to pause because my child is crying in the background. It's giving my audience choice and agency as opposed to, I know on social media, because of the algorithm, just random shit pops up for you, right? That you may not have control. You do have control of who you follow, unfollow, mute, unmute. I get that, but not necessarily because of the algorithm. But that's what I love about emails and podcasting. So I know you're listening to my podcast now. And if you haven't joined my newsletter, go to elainelu.com/join. So these are trends I've noticed, and I'm dialing it down. Also, even though I may not necessarily be doing free events, but at this time of recording it, I'm in the middle of my virtual boot camp. I'm also in partnership with the University of Club of Pasadena, where they want me to host actually a complimentary free event in the LA area in October. So if you're interested, just shoot me an email at elainelu@elainelu.com. And I'm also planning a 2-day retreat for my inner circle clients at the end of October on the 27th and 28th. And if you're also interested, just send me an email. But those are 3 things that we are planning is or 2 things I should say, those 2 upcoming events, and continuing to do my podcast, continuing to do my newsletter, and building relationships because a huge part of my business is referrals. That's what I'm focused and planning on, dialing in what is working for me, what makes me happy, what feels aligned. And as you are listening to this, maybe all the things that doing in my business is not aligning to you. Like, Elaine, I don't want to have a podcast. I don't want to write a newsletter. I don't want to like connect with others for referrals. And that is fine. That is okay. What I'm trying to get to is what is going to work for you? Because I'm just over the cookie cutter approach that we see so much online. We need to figure out what is working for you. And you're probably wondering, Elaine, these are all questions. How will this help me with my plan? I want to remind you, it is so important to pause being in this hamster wheel of a capitalist society so we can be self aware of what changes need to happen that aligns for us and set intentional goals. I don't know if you've heard of the acronym KISS, but keep it simple, stupid, right? Keep it simple. So, as you all know, I love doing reflective questions, action items for you. but it's actually this whole episode when it comes to reflective questions and action items. So if you want like the Cliff Notes version of what I just shared throughout this episode, journal and reflect on the 4 questions I shared on this episode. One, block down, like block and write any vacations planned or important events that are happening in your life for the rest of the year. Two, before we identify your professional goal, what's your personal goal? Remember, your career/business needs to revolve around your life, not the other way around. Third, what is your professional goal? What do you need to change in your career? And if you've identified your changes, who are 2 or 3 colleagues or friends that you can safely connect with to get advice? And in business, what's your revenue you need to hit to pay yourself, pay for your team, bills? Then look at how you've gotten clients, any trends that you've noticed has shifted and changed, and what are 1 to 3 at the maximum things you can lean into? Legacy maker, if you have big goals for the rest of the year where you want to make sure your business and career revolves around your personal life goals and not the other way around, and you want to see how it looks like to work together, schedule a complimentary 30-minute legacy business and career review with moi, where we will identify your personal and professional goals you want to create, and if you're in your career, what things you need to do to shift so that you are aligned both in revenue and the life you want to build. And if you're a business owner, review current pricing and packaging and see what needs to be edited to fit your dream lifestyle. And in this 30-minute goal, my intention is to serve. And I hope you receive 3 action items for it. And yes, we'll see if it's a good fit to work together. And if it's not a good fit to work together, that's fine. I'll refer you to other resources or other people that may be a better fit because integrity is one of my top values. So, to get a complimentary 30-minute legacy business review call, go to elainelu.com/call.
Legacy Maker, if you love this Call Your Dreams episode, we would love it if you can leave a rating and review on Apple, so more women of color and allies can benefit too. And if you have 1 or 2 friends that would get so much from this particular episode, please share. The intention behind the Call Your Dreams podcast was to contribute and give back to our people. All right. We'll see you next Thursday for our newest Call Your Dreams episode. And don't forget to color your dreams to create your legacy.